You are now listening to Random Ramblings with Rob.
Yay.
Yay!
If you like hanging out at Walmart, if you like hanging out in the aisles, if you like talking random stuff, Random Ramblings with Rob. Random Ramblings with Rob. Yo, yo. Random Ramblings with Rob. Walmart talking, we're random ramblings with Rob. Rob.
What up, everybody? This your boy B-Rob, and I'm back with another edition of the Random Rounds with Rob podcast. First and foremost, I'd like to thank you, the listener, for coming back each and every week, or however you listen to podcasts. If you're a first-time listener, I appreciate you oh so much, especially during these trying times, for trying something new. And plus, you probably locked down somewhere in your basement bunker with, you know, all your amples of rolls of toilet paper, you stingy motherfuckers. And you're trying something new in the audio realm and whatnot. You might be trying something new sexually, but that's to be told. I'm not in the room with y'all, but if I did, I would like to request to be placed under a glass table while I look up while y'all do nasty things. So if you are a first time listener, I appreciate you for giving my show a try. And if you're in the vicinity of the person that recommended you to me, shit, that's a problem because we're not supposed to be doing that right now. Goddamn Corona and shit. So air high five. Or you can do my alternative to where you take your social media app of choice and send them a well-crafted DM saying, thank you for recommending you to me. Speaking of social media, you can find this show on various platforms to include Twitter at 3R Show, Instagram at The 3R Show, Facebook, facebook.com/3R Show, and YouTube. Look for 3R Show. And for anything that I may have missed, because I'm doing all this off the top of my head all the time with a drink in my hand, go to randomrob.com and you can find I said very, I put very there and I didn't need to. You can find a whole bunch of shit that pertains to the show, and there it is, randomrob.com. So joining me, I have a guest. Another guest named Kevin that happens to be a comedian. And this one doesn't have a goatee, but this one is from Israel. Not so much. No. All right. I don't know where I was going with that, but fuck that shit. Joining me is a man that has eluded me for some time now. You sorry motherfucker. And he had the nerve, the audacity to be on that maroon face motherfucker, goddamn Delvin Cox's show. And then on top of that, to rub salt in the wound, him and the other Kevin do a show together called Gutting the Sacred Cow, which you should find on all your podcasting platforms and whatnot. It's a very good show. Listen to it. I haven't yet, but it's still a good show because I know either one of the Kevins. And anyway, back to that maroon face motherfucker, Delvin Cox. They talked shit about me, said I was going to die because I was black. I had a lot of kids. I didn't want to pull out, and I worked security. So that's all the prerequisites to die first in a zombie apocalypse or a horror movie in general. So joining me now is Kevin Israel. How are you, sir?
First of all, I'm an asshole, and I'll admit it. I should have done your show long before Delvin's. You were my first and only. But in fairness, he actually went to Kevin Goatee, my partner in crime at Gutting the Sacred Cow, and set it up. And then Goatee called me and was like, hey, we got to do this podcast. I didn't even know whose podcast we were doing. Mm-hmm. And then when it came up, I started to put the whole thing together, and I was like, I'm going to catch some shit for this.
Oh, yeah. Because, I mean, then as vast as the world is, the internet is a small place, oddly enough. And especially doing any kind of, I guess, broadcasting or podcasting, whatever you want to call it, we bump into a lot of the same people, and we kind of cross-thread with a lot of other people and whatnot. And that's kind of like one of the things that I enjoy most about doing any kind of social media, such as podcasting and whatnot, that everybody, I don't view everybody as competition. I view everybody as somebody to be in the network circle and whatnot. You know, some people you don't mess with as much as everybody else, but I mean, there's some that you mess with heavy, especially that maroon face motherfucker Delvin Cox. I don't even know where I got that from, but that's what popped into my head, so I said it. So,
well, here we are.
Yeah, here we are. I appreciate you giving me your time and everything.
I've redeemed myself. Yes,
you did. I really appreciate it. But once again, and this is the theme of the show. I might even call this episode Maroon Face Motherfucker. Delvin Cox. He took away a lot of my questions. I already know how you started in comedy. I don't know why, but I already know how. And then I already know.
Maybe listeners don't.
True, but this is how merciful of a man I am, how great of a human being I am. I'm going to refer them to the Delvin Cox Experience podcast to where they can get all that information.
Wow.
See, that's how gracious of a man I am, or whatever. Not unlike that maroon face motherfucker Delvin Cox. But yeah, so I listened to your comedy special on iTunes.
Thank you.
And yeah, I mean, it's the least I can do. I mean, you're giving me your time, and I can sit here and bullshit with the best of them, but I'd rather have, you know, something tailored toward you, my friend. And I'm not going to lie to you. I already forgot the name that quick, but I did listen to it. I could point out good points and all this.
The struggle was real.
Yeah. And it was plain as the nose on my motherfucking face. How simple the title is, because my first question to you was going to be, is that your real stage name? I mean, is that your real name or your stage name? And you have clarified that is indeed your real name. And you went into the backstory, how your freaking grandfather went and changed it when he came to America and all kind of stuff. See, I'm briefing everybody, but I do recommend that you go listen to the Delvin Cox Experience and get the full on, because I'm paraphrasing right now just to kind of get to the meat and potatoes of things. But I listened to your special, The Struggle is Real, but that's not where it started for me. What originally got you on my radar and to come to know the wonderful human being that is you is I heard you on another person that we have in common, Jay Sandlin.
Ah, my buddy Jay. Yes.
Yeah. You were on his show, What Happens Next. And I had like
episodes of his show.
Yeah, I had a round table and everything. And what kind of buzzed my ears or whatever, I was hearing you speak and everything. You was talking about your mom a lot. and I was like, God damn. I was like, there's something here that we need to discuss, you know? So that's what initially got me to reach out to you. And I wanted to get you on the show because I was like, shit, man. I mean, you just talking bad like that. I mean, what's the issue? What's the problem? But then,
I mean, as any Jewish man will tell you, Jewish mothers are a difficult breed. Mm-hmm. And my mother is in her 80s. Mm-hmm. And she's a woman set in her ways.
Like 83, right?
I would say of my act, she's probably a good half of my act.
Yeah.
She's contributed somehow to half of my act. Because she is she's got very set in the things she does. She believes what she believes and nobody's going to tell her different. Mm-hmm. And arguing with her is about as easy as moving a house.
Yeah. So what was the takeaway for me is like hearing you on that episode and then hearing you on the episode with Delvin and the other Kevin, which you should listen to on the Delvin Cox Experience. Look it up on all your podcasting platforms. It's turned into a goddamn plug for Delvin Cox.
I know, this is great cross networking.
Yeah, but hearing that there and hearing that here, it was just like it kind of hit home for me. Not so much, you know, your experiences with your mother and your parents, but like you said, your mother had you at 40, and my mother had me at 40.
Oh, it's see, it can work out.
Yeah. So, and for the longest of times, I always thought it was like, because between my father and my mother, you know, not together, but collectively as a whole from previous relationships, there's 18 of us.
Shut the fuck up.
No, I can't. We're doing a podcast. This is audio. I can't shut up. But
ow.
And I'm the
18?
Yes, including me is 18 of us total. And I'm the baby. I'm the last one. So given her age and everything and the previous siblings before me, I always thought I was a mistake. You know, and that's just something I carried with me. You know, it's like, it's nothing they told me. I just kind of like, oh, the next youngest one above me is in his 50s.
Jeez.
And I'm 38. Well, I'll be 38 next weekend. So thank you. I appreciate it. So I always thought that. And then, you know, my wife currently, you know, my mom likes my wife, which I can't say that for the one before her because I'm a 2-time loser. So they they did a deep dive because she really liked her and they was talking and everything. And my wife came back and told me, just like, your mom wanted to have you. She wanted to have one more kid, before she passed the age of 40. And I was like, oh, feelings and whatnot.
It worked up a lot inside you?
Yes, just like I got all emotion. And that's another thing that I'm finding, you know, being separated from the military and just getting older in general. I was like, I'm turning into a bitch.
That's part of aging, man. Just give into it.
I guess. I mean, we acquire freaking, what's that, estrogen or some shit now?
Yeah. Testosterone drops, estrogen raises, and we start crying.
Mm-hmm. I watch wrestling, and I've been a professional wrestling fan all my life. And I watched a match, and it drew some emotions in me, and I got kind of misty-eyed, and I was like, what the fuck is this? What the fuck is going on?
You tried professional wrestling?
Yeah. And we can get into that real quick because as of current, at every turn that I get the opportunity to bash this motherfucker, I will. The Undertaker. Are you familiar?
Of course.
Okay. Fuck that motherfucker. only from whatever year WrestleMania 30 was up until now. Before that, greatest professional wrestler of all time, greatest character of all time. Just fucking, he's been wrestling as long as I've been a wrestling fan. He's the constant in my professional wrestling fandom, but fuck this motherfucker as of 2020 because he evoked an emotion in me that was never displayed in front of my wife before. And that's like, I done seen kids being birthed. I done been through some hard shit in my life. I almost died a couple times and I never shed a fucking tear. But when this motherfucker damn motioned that like he was going to retire and shit, I fucking boo-hooed and shit in front of my fucking wife. Felt like a goddamn girl. And I know everybody on this damn show tired of hearing this shit, but I'm gonna bring this motherfucker up just to say fuck that motherfucker for making me do that. And he continued to wrestle after that, and I'm just like, forever fuck that dude.
You're a sucker.
Yes, I got worked. I got played.
You did. You fully got worked.
Oh man, I get angry every time I see the motherfucker. Man, I just like, ugh.
Is he still wrestling?
Yes, that's why I'm saying fuck that dude.
Wow, because he's got to be. He's 60, right?
He's up there. He is up there. Yes.
Wow. Well, good for him, I guess.
Yeah, and see, and that's also my caveat or whatever, if I ever use that word correctly. I will never put a man down for making money, providing for himself and his family, and doing what he got to do to survive. I can't put him down for that. But me, as a freaking fan and a viewer, fuck that shit. You know?
Well, you know what? Didn't a rumor go around a year ago or 2 years ago that he was like sick and dying?
He looks like that. So, I mean, I can see why.
There were pictures on him on like social media and people were like, oh, he doesn't look so good. He lost some weight or something and people thought he was dying.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens when you only wrestle once a year, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, and he's at 60 and he's beating his body up for
my
40.
entertainment. Yeah, he's beating his body up for my entertainment.
Yeah, so he has the right to look like shit.
Yeah, exactly. And he has the right to stay the fuck home, too. But, yeah, anyway, fuck The Undertaker. As of 2020, you know. Anyway.
Undertaker 2020 is dead to me now.
Yes, the dead man is extra dead. But to go through some of the things in your comedy special, you know, right off the bat, I'm going through the intro because in iTunes, where you can download his comedy special.
Struggle. Look it up on iTunes, Spotify, all those places, Pandora.
Yeah, this is some of the things I look for. You talking about Jesus and the whole thing with religion and everything. The one thing that stuck out to me in that whole bit was the Jesus-y. It's a little bit too Jesus-y. I don't know what that was. I don't know what it was about it, but it just stuck in my head, and I got a good giggle out of that. Whenever you sitting there and you preparing this show, because this came out as of the iTunes stamp, 2017, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
So what was that whole process like? Just leading up to this moment of the night actually recording this special.
It was crazy. It was, I've been working on that material for years, and slowly, getting it to a point where I had the whole show, because I always wanted to be able to tell a story through what would be the album. I wanted somebody to be able to listen to it start to finish and get like a feel of who I am and kind of know me. My favorite kind of comics are storytellers. Mm-hmm. So I've always tried to be a storyteller myself. And that's what I like. I always liked going to a comedy show before I was even doing comedy, and walking out being like, I think it was funny, but I also feel like I know that guy. Mm-hmm. And so crafting that material for the amount of years I did, and I never thought I was going to record an album. I mean, no comic ever gets into comedy and goes, I want to, I'm going to make an album. I'm going to be famous, or I'm going to be successful. Every comic just does it because it's something they want to do. Mm-hmm. And then they either succeed or they don't. And it's a grind. Mm-hmm. And so then when the opportunity presented itself to tape an album and to have you do it in a theater, and it was a whole big thing. It was crazy. It was crazy to me. And it was a lot of fun. And it was almost like a wedding. Like, it goes by so quickly, and then suddenly it was done. And, I was just like, was it good? I have no idea. But it's something I'm really proud of. And, I've gotten a lot of good feedback about it. So I'm happy with it. Yeah.
And that's kind of what I got from it as well. Just sitting here listening to about the whole 45 minutes of it. It was one big story. It's like somebody was just, and that's essentially what you were doing. You were telling me experiences from your life or whatever. I was sitting there getting to know you as a person, Yep. And you just,
I'm not, I have a lot of friends who are more observational comics. I have a lot of friends who are a little darker comics, and I respect I respect anybody who gets up and does it well. But I've always been a very specific type of person when it comes to the kind of comedy I like and the kind of way my sense of humor works. And so, my album reflects it. And if I ever do a second album, that will reflect it too. That I like telling stories through my life. Mm-hmm. And when I've amassed enough stories for the next album, I'll start telling them again, and it'll probably be about a lot less about my mom and a lot more about my wife, and where we go from there.
Okay, because that's interesting that you bring her up, because now you say wife, and in 2017 this was the girlfriend, and y'all was just moving in together and whatnot. Yep. So I can imagine if there's a second album, which there will be. Here you go. There it is. That's the bell, I guess. Random buttons and shit. There will be a second album, and I can only imagine, like, just from that time that you did the first special up until now, you have amassed quite a many experiences and whatnot, going from a live-in girlfriend to now a wife, and you just moved too. So so many experiences.
Yeah, we did. Look, I proposed to her, and actually my proposal is on my YouTube channel, and it's pretty good. It might even bring a tear to your eye more than The Undertaker did.
That motherfucker.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
From the proposal to planning the wedding to getting married to buying a house, we got a dog. We've done a ton of shit, and there's always something funny to be found in it. Everybody has funny shit happen in their life. It's just a matter of whether or not you pick it up and you can turn it into something that someone else will enjoy.
Yeah. What kind of dog you get?
He's a Bernedoodle. He's a Bernese Mountain Dog Poodle mix.
Oh, so a mutt. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, he's a mutt. He's a mutt that I paid way too much money for.
Ooh, you paid money for one of them?
Oh yeah, that's what we do.
I don't know. That don't sound like a dog that you pay money for.
No, I paid a lot of money for him. You could have gotten a piece of shit car for the amount I paid for this dog.
Ooh. Nah, am I wrong? But didn't you talk about a rescue dog? And you?
Yeah, we were trying. We actually did. That set ends with me talking about trying to rescue a dog, and I couldn't. They wouldn't give us a dog.
Yeah, because they did. They had references and all kind of shit. They had to call and everything, like you was applying for a job or some shit.
Yeah. And then I found out that I was allergic to certain dogs. And it got to the point where it was just too hard to try to rescue the kind of dog that I would need to rescue. So finally we just said, fuck it, and bought the dog.
All right. Now, on the opposite end of that spectrum or whatever, I had a dog, it was American Bulldog, and that motherfucker had allergies.
That's expensive.
Yes, very.
That's real expensive.
Yeah, because you have to buy a certain kind of food. You have to have a certain kind of wash and everything. And then they got to go the vet freaking appointments and everything. I was like,
oh yeah,
I don't remember being a kid and just having, a pet to where it was just like the motherfucker lived there with us. He ate what we ate most of the time and shit. I mean, that was like, another, something else there. He just happened to bark and poop and shit or whatever. Yeah. So, but I don't.
Oh yeah, we treat our dogs now completely differently than when I was a kid, we had a dog and he was the family dog and we would let him out during the day and he would just go, we didn't know what he did.
Yeah.
He would just run away and he would go, I don't know, get laid and maybe eat some shit out of a trash can and get into a fight. And then he would come back in the evening and we'd feed him out of we had this big metal canister where we poured an 80-pound bag of dog food that just said dog food on it. It was probably from a farm or some shit. And he would eat it and he was fine. And that dog lived 16 years. Word. And now I buy my dog food that I have to take out a mortgage for. And he eats better than I do. He sleeps on a bed. My dog has a memory foam bed.
Wow.
He's got a nicer bed than I do. And I'm like, you know what? And he doesn't give a shit. He doesn't know the difference.
Shit, that other dog you had a whole nother family and shit, like how most of the dads did way back in the 60s and
70s. Yeah, you know what? We were all right with that. She wants to go and bother some other people. But now this dog, like, I carry this dog around. He weighs 80 pounds.
Golly. So, I don't know, man, because, like, I had a dog. The last dog that we owned, I consider that my first official pet. Because, like, I mean, I had dogs before then, but those weren't mine. And one of them is just like, we kept it in the cage in the backyard. And we just fed that motherfucker. That wasn't a pet. It just stayed in the cage, but this was like my first adult pet, I had him from a puppy. I was the one that potty trained him. I fed him. I took him to the vets and all kind of stuff. And then when we had to get rid of him when I got out of the military or whatever, that really broke me up. It was almost on the level up there with the Undertaker and shit. I almost boo-hooed a little bit.
Oh no, the day that something happens to this dog now, it's going to be a bad place for me.
Oh no. But let's segue from that because I don't want to bring you down with thoughts of sad puppy things and whatnot.
Why are you killing off my dog?
No, all right, I don't want. All right, yay, happy puppy things. But back to the comedy special, whatever. Just a tidbit of information for you. I know you're Jewish. You said it is in your comedy set. I heard it on the podcast. When I typed in your name Israel, the Jewish flag popped up. I thought I'd just share that with you. Yeah,
well, that happens.
And then what's kind of relevant today, I forget exactly what it was. You was talking about having your parents or somebody having a whole bunch of hoarding and shit, just being extra prepared. And it was kind of relevant to what's going on now with the toilet paper,
My folks could open up a store right now and probably sell those rolls for $100 a roll and buy a new house. They have so much toilet paper.
Word.
But the thing about my parents is they buy shitty toilet paper.
The one ply.
Ply. rough. It just says toilet paper on the outside. And so I think even people desperate for toilet paper would probably say, you know what? I'll use my hand.
Now, it's funny you say that. You know, in the midst of everything that's going on, you know, I'm an avid Walmart goer. It's kind of a part of the show. And during this whole thing and whatnot, you know, there hadn't been any water in my local Walmart and tissue paper and toilet paper and all the other crazy shit. So I went, I think it was 2 days ago, and it's on my Instagram. And they had a couple of rolls of toilet paper and paper towels out there. And the only thing that was sitting up there was the 1-ply. and everything like that. And I was just like, ugh.
Yeah, so you didn't take it?
No, I didn't take it. I mean, I'm good here. I'm good. Oh. But it's just like, if somebody need it, this is what they got. I mean, it was just exactly as you said it was too. It was just like 6, 7. I mean, well, not 7 because they don't do odd numbers. I don't think it was like 8 rolls of toilet paper. It was a black band around it, and it just said toilet paper. It didn't say nothing else. That was all it was. That's
the type of shit Sid Israel buys.
Oh man.
It's it's crazy what people are doing now with the hoarding and whatnot. We just moved into this house a week ago. But we didn't have anything, and I didn't realize that what people were posting on social media. Somewhere in my head, I was like, I guess the toilet paper hoarding is going on somewhere, but probably not here.
Yeah.
And then I went out to the store, and I was like, holy shit, there's no toilet paper anywhere. Mm-hmm. And we actually had to have family friends donate us a couple packages of toilet paper because we had 2 rolls. That's all we had. We literally moved into a house. We had 2 rolls of toilet paper, and we're trying to figure out how long 2 rolls of toilet paper would last us. And luckily, and thanks to the kindness of some others, we now are decently stocked on toilet paper. We should probably make it to April. I'm hopeful.
Hopefully. Now, a couple other things that I got down about your special and everything. It was a couple other relatable things. You know, we already talked about you know, the similarities between your mom having you at 40 and my mom having me at 40 and whatnot. But a couple other things that you brought up, which I found very amusing, was you talk about the titties. I agree wholeheartedly. I don't think there's so much a bad pair of titties. I mean, even if there are some bad pair of titties, it's just like you see them and you're like, oh, that's some titties.
You know what? I want to quote a comic who I've always loved, Ron White of the Blue Collar Comedy Tour. Mm-hmm. He has a great line.
Take a drink for that man now.
You see one set of tits, you want to see them all.
Exactly. You want to see the lopsided, the small, the ones that look just like somebody took a plunger and just kind of popped it off and it made a titty.
No man has ever had a woman walk up to him and say, "You want to see my tits?" No man has ever said no.
No.
They've all said, "Yeah, I'll take a look."
Now,
all right.
Let me tell you about a traumatizing thing that happened to me as a child involving a pair of titties. I mean, it wasn't so much traumatizing. It was just kind of a jarring instance. All right. So internet was just being readily accessible to the masses. I was on AOL. I got the disc in the mail. Asked my mom, can I have the shit or whatever? We had to dial up, the little the little man running across the thing, the triangle with the eyeball in it, all kind of stuff, all kind of Illuminati shit, right? So I'm on the internet and I'm getting into, I think I'm about at this time, maybe 11, 12. I'm getting around teenage years. And I'm discovering internet chat rooms. I'm talking with people across the world, freaking age, sex, location, and shit. You know, all that crap, right?
Yep. ASL. Oh, I did it. Mm-hmm. I did it.
And I meet this girl, and I believe she was my age. I mean, I had no reason to believe that she wasn't. But we would talk, and she had a webcam, and I didn't. And I didn't. So I could see her, and I could type to her, and we can type to each other. So she would turn on her webcam and we'd be typing and we just talking all kinds of shit. I don't even know how we got to the point to where we got to, but she would just randomly show me her titties. And,
good place to be.
You know, here I am, 11, 12-year-old boy, like, this is great. I'm seeing titties on the I don't know. I can't even remember. I mean, she had to be around my age, but then again, she was showing me titties, so I probably wouldn't have cared. So, and we was talking and everything. And for some reason, my niece was there, and when I say my niece, and it's weird for me because you heard the age disparity between me and all my older siblings. So me at that age, I had nieces and nephews that were my age, younger than me, and older than me. I had nieces and nephews that babysitted me. You know, so one of my nieces was there, and I was like, "Hey, watch this," and I would type her some shit, and she would show me her titties. Yeah, she'd be like, "Oh shit, that's some titties." And many moons later, I think I had some contributing factor to my niece currently because she's gay, and I was like, "Yeah, because I showed you titties when you was young."
I don't think you can take credit for that.
I don't think so either. But
you want to hear a funny story about chat rooms?
Yes, go ahead.
Around 2001. 2000. I had just started a job. I was shortly out of college, and the job that I got, I didn't have a lot to do, so I was always going into Yahoo chat rooms. Yes, I didn't do AOL chat rooms. I always did Yahoo, AOL. Yeah, and I mean they were just breeding grounds for filth. Yes. People would just go in. It was just hard, and it was the Wild West for the internet. Nobody was monitoring anything. Yes. Nobody knew what the fuck was going on.
I jacked off on accident.
And so I met this. So I would go into these chat rooms and I wouldn't say anything. I would just watch people talk. It just amazed me. It was like watching a soap opera. People had relationships they never met.
Yeah,
like just had full blown relationships with people they never ever met. And so this girl one day messaged me and goes, "Hey, I always see you in these chat rooms. You never say anything. What are you, some creep?" And I was like, "I'm not the creep. I'm not the one messaging somebody just out of the blue." Yeah. And she was like, "Well, blah, blah, blah." So we ended up talking. And as it happened, she lived like 20 minutes from me.
Word.
But I'd never done this was really the infancy of social media on the internet. Early. And so, I didn't have any pictures online. Nobody had pictures online. Yeah. There was just very little information, very little. I wasn't savvy enough to ask the right questions. And so we just talked and talked and talked. And then finally one day she was like, "You want to exchange phone numbers?" And I was like, "Whoa, this is a computer thing. I don't want to hear your voice." and she was like, "Oh, come on." So finally we exchanged phone numbers, and we talked a couple of times when I was driving home from work, and we had good conversations. So I was like, "Oh, she's pretty cool."
Yeah.
And then she was like, "Do you want to get together?" And I was like, "Wow, that's a big move."
So what was the time between all this stuff happening? From the time she contacted you to you moved to voice
I'd say
to voice. A month. A month. Okay. A month between each step.
No. It probably went 3 weeks between her to exchanging phone number, between us talking to exchanging phone numbers, and then probably another week for her to suggest that we should get together.
Okay. All right.
I mean, but you got to remember, now in the time of Twitter, or not now in the time of Tinder, this would all happen in 7 hours.
Yes.
Because
that's what it's for.
You would have seen her picture, and then she'd be over at your house jerking you off before the next day. Mm-hmm. So she convinces me to get together, and she tells me, now this is important. Mm-hmm. It's because we didn't have pictures online. She asked me what I looked like. I asked her what she looked like. Yeah. And she said she looked like Selma Hayek.
Ooh.
Now, at the time, I considered Selma Hayek to be one of the hottest women on earth.
We're going to have video for this, so I'm going to put a picture of Selma Hayek up there to go companionship with this story.
And put the good one up. She just had a great dress on at one of the award shows that was really, really emphasized her assets. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, holy shit. Of all people in the world to meet randomly on a chat room, I meet a Selma Hayek lookalike. Like, this is amazing. So we finally decide we're going to meet up. I tell her I'm going to pick her up at her place, take her out to dinner. She messages me the day of. I'm at work, and she says, "Hey, what are you going to be wearing tonight?" And I thought, oh, that's really considerate. Like, she wants to make sure she's dressed appropriately. Mm-hmm. And I said, I'll be in a shirt and tie coming from work, but I'll probably take the tie off. And she goes, "Okay, well, I might look a little frumpy." Now,
you use that word, it automatically threw a flag up for me.
No, but so here was the thing in my naive head.
Yes,
I'm thinking this girl looks like Selma Hayek. Mm-hmm. Hot girls always say they look like shit. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't look. So I was like, I'm sure you'll look great. She's like, nah. So I drive over to her place, pick her up, and I couldn't figure out which house was hers. Her house was like kind of in a weird position. So I get out of the car and I'm trying to figure out of the two houses which are hers. And this woman comes along, this little chubbier woman in a purple sweatsuit, one of those like almost like a windbreaker looking suit.
Yeah.
And she's walking a dog, and I look at her and I go, "Hey, do you know?" And I don't even remember what the girl's name is. We'll just call her Jen. And I said, "Hey, do you know where Jen lives?" And she looks at me and she goes, "Kevin." And I was like, shit, this is not Selma Hayek. Like, I don't think this girl has ever seen Selma Hayek, or maybe there's another Selma Hayek out there, but it's not Selma Hayek. So I was like, oh, great.
Selma Kayak.
Yeah. So I was like, but I was like, you know what? I have 3 older sisters. I couldn't just like get in the car and drive away. I was like, I got to do this, do the right thing. So we go to dinner, and our waiter was a gay gentleman who immediately saw what was going on here and that this wasn't the situation that I had planned it to be. And he knew that he could see, he just knew and he saved the whole evening because he kept coming back and trying, because we'd had nothing to talk about. I had nothing to say to her.
Hey, y'all.
This girl lied to me. Like, I'm with a liar right now. And so he kept coming back trying to like break the tension, and he would make jokes and whatever. And so we're sitting there and we're eating. And she looks at me and she goes, "So am I what you expected?" And I was like, and I wanted to be like, "No, I fucking expected Selma Hayek." So instead I was like, I never did this before. I didn't really expect anything. I didn't, I didn't see a picture of you. How would I know what to expect?
Yeah.
And she looks at me and she goes, "Well, you're not what I expected."
I was like, "You bitch."
And I was like, "Oh, okay." And she's like, "You're so preppy." And I was like, "Yeah, well, I told you I'm coming from work." And then I'm like, "Why am I making excuses for this girl?" And she's like, "Yeah." She's like, "Well, I usually go for thugs." And I was like, "Well, I am definitely not a thug." And so she's like, "Yeah, you're not." So then we had nothing to say for a little longer, and we're just finally finishing up dinner. And I had asked the waiter for the check, and he goes to get the check, and she turns and she looks at me and she goes, "So are we fucking tonight or what?"
Whoa.
And I was like, "What? No, why would we do that?" And she's like, "Well, why do you think I do this?" And I was like, "Wait." And she had told me when we had first started talking that she had never met up with somebody before. And I was like, "What do you mean do this?" She's like, "Meet guys like this." And I said, "You told me you never did this before." And she was like, "Well, of course, if I told you I do it all the time, you wouldn't have met up with me." And I was like,
"But you know what? What year was this? What you said? What time frame?
2000. It was 2000, 2001, somewhere right around there.
Okay, so if I jumped in the time machine and I went back to me around that time frame, I would be in Iraq. So shortly after that,
a little different.
Yeah, shortly after that, I came back like around 2002 and everything. So anything 2002 up until maybe 2005, maybe still they put in time range. Anywhere in between then and the time I met my wife currently, which was 2007, 2008, I wouldn't have gave a fuck. Because at that point, like I alluded to earlier, it was just like I almost died so many times, and I was just like, I could have had no pussy at all. So whatever pussy is given to me, I'm going to take it.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't taking
I know
that.
you hadn't been in my shoes before. You hadn't been in the situation that you was going to like a mortar drop on you or some shit or whatever. So, I mean, not too many normal people do things like that.
No, look, man, I'm sure I would have, I'm sure that makes you very appreciative for anyone who's willing to have sex with you.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just like, you got a pulse in the vagina? Come holler at me real quick. Let me see them titties real quick.
And this long story. So finally I said, "No, we're not fucking." We get her back in the car. I drive her home, pull up in front of her house. And I was like, "Well, this was interesting." And she turns and looks at me and she goes, "So you don't even want me to suck your dick?" And I was like, "Nope, we're good."
Dog, I mean, this would have been a whole different situation if it was me in this position. I would have been like, we would have been in the bathroom at the restaurant.
You know what? The entire time I was just picturing Selma Hayek, and I was so disappointed.
Yeah, and I can understand that, the lies and the deceit or whatever. But that happened to me more than once. So by then, I didn't care anymore. So, but to go back to what I was telling you about the thing and everything. So me and this girl was going back and forth. She showed me titties and everything. So one day, same old routine, same song and dance. We typing and everything, and she showing me the titties. And she started, I know it's going to be a little bit delayed, but she started doing this shit, with her hands. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? She's like, I'm signing. I was like, signing?
She was deaf?
Yes. And I was like, what the fuck? And so immature me or whatever, I just kind of closed out the window and I never talked to her again after that.
So wait, you were just telling me how you would have taken any pussy you could get.
No, see, this
just
is
not deaf pussy.
See, this is time period differences, though.
Oh, I see. I see.
With that girl or in that particular.
So you at 12 was much more selective.
Yes, exactly. Yes, I had standards then.
You still had hopes.
Yes, I had a vision in my head or whatever. Yeah, I want Selma Hayek to be Selma Hayek.
And she's got to be able to hear.
Yes, she got to hear me coming. In more ways than one.
Well, now the whole Association of the Hearing Impaired of America Alliance is going to be boycotting this podcast.
I'm sorry. I mean, that was the old me or whatever. I can change. I as well.
Jesus.
Yes, I'm not Jesus-y. Another thing that you talked about in there, apart from the titties that I found very relatable, was the lady's hair all over the goddamn place.
So today.
So I'm like, I find myself freaking washing clothes and everything, and I'm putting shit fresh out of the dryer on, and I'm like, I'm itching in the neck. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I'm pulling strands of my wife's hair out and shit. I'm like, what the fuck does this even come from?
I've pulled my wife's hair out of my head.
Yeah.
It gets everywhere. It's amazing. She loses hair faster than it can grow back. I don't know how she has any hair on her head, and it's everywhere, and she doesn't do anything to clean it up. The whole thing amazes me.
Yeah, and your wife probably isn't like a cosmetologist or anything. So my wife, went to school for that shit. She's certified. So every other week is like I want to try this hairstyle. Oh, I want to get this type of hair. I'm going to wear a wig this time, just trying different shit. And now it's just like, I'm paranoid of myself because any man that's been in a relationship a long time or just in a relationship in general, you never want to get accused of cheating. So you in this bitch in the bathroom, changing your hair every fucking week, different shades of colors and textures and shit. And then I fuck around and find a hair on me. I'm like, who the fuck hair is this? Where was I? Did I shake somebody's hand and it fell on me? What the fuck is going on?
But if she's always changing her look, that's great for you. It's like you have a different woman every few weeks.
True. This is indeed. And that even goes back a little bit further before she even got on this type of kick, because she didn't always do her hair like this. She used to be a police officer. And she did undercover work. So she had to like wear a wig. And that's kind of what got her into, the whole cosmetology thing and the hairstyles and all that shit. She did undercover work. So damn, she would wear wigs and, kind of dress out of her comfort zone and whatnot. So she would buy wigs and all this stuff. And I'd be like, so who's it? I'm going to name the wigs and shit. I was like, who's this? Is this Tina or Sabrina?
She named the wigs?
No, I did.
Oh.
I said, is Sabrina tonight? Who we got coming over?
That's amazing.
So that was pretty fun. But out of all the things in the comedy special, the way you ended it with the F-bomb, man. And I was just like, wow. The F word. Are you particular to which one I'm talking about?
No, which bit did I end it with?
Faggot.
Yeah.
So I mean,
it was a different time.
Yeah, I know. I mean, here I am, and I'm saying it here. I'm saying the F word or whatever. But I ain't scared to say the shit because fuck fuck it. It's a word. I ain't pointing it at a particular person or a group of people. It's just a word. Fuck that. I don't say the N word, but it is what it is. But it was just like, I know it was a different time then, even though it was like, 2017? But just to hear that word, it kind of jarred me a little bit. Even today with how hip hop is, and I know y'all talked about it on the Delvin Cox Experience, which you can find on all iTunes and all the motherfucking platforms. The way hip hop is now, that's like every other word the N word is. And I'm just like, I don't say it regularly in speech, and I haven't said it in well over 2 decades.
Yeah.
And it's like,
well, actually, I don't do that bit anymore, specifically for that reason.
Exactly.
Because it strikes people differently. And in the joke, it's not me. It's, the joke is set up. It's not me saying it. It's this hypothetical other person.
Yeah.
Who's supposed to be sort of hostilely saying it. But yeah, you know what? It's you start to think, and a lot of comics have gone through this, and a lot of comics have caught flack for material they've done years ago that they, might not do now. And as a comic, we do have to think about what we say now, and is it going to offend somebody, and is it going to come back to bite us in the ass years later? There's been guys who have lost gigs on Saturday Night Live and sponsors and sitcom opportunities because somebody went back through their tweets and found a tweet from 8 years ago where they said something stupid. James Gunn almost lost his
exactly.
Because he's made some stupid jokes that people said he was a pedophile. Like, so everything you say now, you have to think over 10 times and say, is this something I should say? And it's funny. Actually, it's funny that you bring that up. I didn't even remember that joke made the album. But now I go out of my way to really just stick to stories and stuff that was in my life, because that's way if I'm telling my own experience, nobody can get offended. Yeah. Because you can't, that's my life. And it's really a very different time for any artist and in entertainment, because people are, number one, people are more aware. Yeah. People have a voice. Mm-hmm. And there's also people out there just looking to get you. Exactly. And just looking for that opportunity to say, "Ha! Look what I found," and it's become almost like a sport. Yeah. So, as an entertainer, and you know what? Probably if I ever got a TV opportunity, or if Netflix ever wanted to give me a special, Netflix, if you're listening, that would probably come back and bite me in the ass. And somebody would say, "Oh, well, you know what? He said fag once." And, and then I would have to come out and I'd have to do the apology of, I have a lot of gay friends. I understand the community and blah, 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 blah. But in the end, it was a joke. It was a joke that I wrote when I was a younger comic, and it always got a good laugh. But, we live in a different time now, and it's a shitty word that hurts people, and you shouldn't be saying it.
Yeah. And I don't understand. It's just like, when people do that type of thing, not saying a word or anything like that, but like they go deep diving into somebody's past to find out some drudge shit, and they don't take into account that was the climate at the time, Right. Cause like, I don't know, the world is weird now, I can't say shit is pussified or whatever the hell it may be or whatnot. I mean, it has changed, because I think about it from my childhood aspect or whatnot, to where we can sit there and talk about my dad freaking having this old Ford, I forget what kind of car it was. I know it was sky blue, and he would drive around with me in the car and have a back seat full of beer cans. And we would drive around with no seatbelts and shit on, and nobody thought none the wiser that shit wasn't safe. That's just like the era we grew up in. We didn't think about shit like that, but somebody with a bigger brain came in and was like, "Hey man, I'm looking at the numbers, and people that ain't wearing seatbelts and or drinking and driving, they die faster than these motherfuckers that's wearing seatbelts and not drinking and driving." I mean, it's just common fucking sense now. Yep. Because I mean,
it's a totally different time, and But people are, it's a sad thing because it's not just a matter of the time, but it's also a matter of context. If you go back and, you see somebody's has some, like a joke posted that's either racist or homophobic or, whatever kind of slant, and they've never had this racist or homophobic or anti-Semitic theme to their life or to the message they've been putting out. And clearly it was an attempt at a joke. Just you could just write it off as just a bad joke and move on.
Yeah.
I've seen all sorts of comics do bad material that didn't work, and you move on. Mm-hmm. If you go on somebody's page and they've got swastikas and they're talking about 6 million wasn't enough, then that person, we might have to have a conversation about that guy.
Yeah.
But somebody who tries to joke out about, whether it's Jews or Asians or blacks or gays, and it doesn't land, and it was on Twitter, and now it's going to exist forever, you don't cancel their career for it.
Yeah. I mean, take it into consideration, just kind of look at it more than once before you just jump on the motherfucking neck,
Right. And that's what I'd honestly, entertainment, especially comedy, it's experimental. People are always thrown out there. Mm-hmm. Richard Pryor, George Carlin, they were throwing shit against the wall that nobody could have ever said before. Mm-hmm. And it's pushing boundaries. And look, I know a lot of great comics. I know a lot of great talented comics who push the boundaries, and it's funny, but you look at it and you go, wow, that's a risk. And then I know other comics who just say wild, shocking stuff, and it's not funny, but they think it is just because it's wild and shocking. But that's what comedy and that's what art is. It's people trying to to evoke an emotion out of you. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Now, from your experience and everything, me, I think of comedy kind of like a sanity test sometimes, to be like, if your set is about you and you bringing up stuff, it's just like, all right, am I crazy for thinking this? What do you guys think or whatever? I mean, do you kind of feel like it's like that way? Because I've heard a lot of specials to where, a comedian would dispel some information about themselves. And I was like, I've never had that happen to me before, and I was just like, wow, he's just bringing some other shit to the table that I never even thought of, or a situation that I never thought I would ever find myself in.
Yeah, well, that's a big part of it. That's a big part of, throwing your truth out there and seeing if other people either relate to it or don't. Mm-hmm. And that's I have a lot of material that people come out and go, oh yeah, you know what, I've been there, I've done that, or I've lived through that, and then other people might not just get it. That's a huge part of it.
Mm-hmm. Now, another thing that was brought up, I think you and the other Kevin discussed on Delvin Cox's show, that maroon face motherfucker, about differences in the comedians that you liked. And I know a point of conversation there was Bill Cosby. I believe you said you liked him for his material, and I think the other Kevin said he didn't too much enjoy him, or he didn't really get it.
Yeah.
So for me, Bill Cosby himself, greatest stand-up special I've seen.
That was my first comedy special that I ever saw, and I saw him on a show that I think it was called Saturday Night Gold. I could be wrong. Mm-hmm. It was a variety show back in the 80s that was on one of the network channels on the weekend, and I was a little kid. I must have been 8. And I was watching it, and he was there trying out some of his material that would go on to be his himself special. And I remember he was doing the bit about going to the dentist.
Yeah.
And when he got the Novocaine and he can't feel his mouth. And I was 8 and I was laughing hysterically. And I didn't know at that point, I didn't even know stand-up comedy was a thing. Like, I didn't know what I was watching. Mm-hmm. And I remember just thinking, this is amazing. This guy's just up there talking and he's making me laugh. And I was an 8-year-old who was making laugh, and he was making adults laugh.
Yeah.
And the fact that you could write material that could, first of all, make that wide of an age range laugh, and and again, he was a great storyteller.
Yeah.
He was a great storyteller. He didn't have, set up punch. He told stories, and he took you on a ride, and he made it funny, and he made you feel the whole experience when he talks about his wife giving birth, and he talks about his son getting an earring or going to the dentist. Like, you ride through this whole experience with him, and he was masterful in it. And look, today's standards, I don't know that he would be considered as funny as some of the comics now, but he was a real innovator at the time as far as storytelling goes, and as far as the way he just sat down and said, "Listen, I'm telling you a story, and you're going to go on this ride with me." Mm-hmm. And I always thought he was masterful. Yeah.
Now, what made me enjoy that special the most is because the time that I found it, I'd already been married once. I already had kids, and, I was, everything that he was talking about, as far as him and his family and everything, I found that highly relatable. Sure. It was like him just going through the struggles with his kids and everything, which I can relate to because at that time, and I still do, I have kids, so I can point to some instances that's kind of familiar to what he was talking about and everything. And, I was in the room for my, two of my kids' birth, so I can relate to those experiences. So that what made that whole comedy special, just like, it made it real great for me and whatnot. And I can appreciate that to when, people kind of tell their story and they make it relatable. And also what I appreciate about some comedians, to where they go through that journey, like what you was talking about, and they kind of hop back and forth between what they brought up earlier. There's like, the story leads up to a point, then it references back to what they talked about in the beginning, and then it comes back around at the end of the set as well.
Yeah. That's a callback in comedy terms. And anytime you can wrap your stories and bring it all together. I mean, he was great at it. And he did some shitty things, and he deserves to be in prison, and he deserves what he gets. But does that make any of his stuff less funny?
No.
Does that his especially that special, any less great? No, I don't think it does. And I think the same for Louis C.K. and for any of these other comics who have gone through terrible shit, and stuff has come out for them. Well, but they were still funny, and you can't take the laughter back.
Now. As a wrestling equivalent, Chris Benoit, he killed his wife and his fucking child and everything, but everybody heralded him as one of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time, and he should be in the WWE Hall of Fame. And I'm just like, dude, this motherfucker killed somebody. I mean, he was a great wrestler.
I don't,
I mean, he didn't kill somebody. He killed somebody's and himself. Yeah. And I was like, I mean, despite his past accolades or whatever, I mean, this ain't something that you want to kind of trot up and, present like this Hall of Fame worthy on the program and whatnot. I mean, people got on them for China, the lady professional wrestler or whatever. But the worst thing she ever did was do porn, Yeah,
that wasn't good.
Yeah. The porn was not good. I seen clips.
The Chris Benoit thing. I mean, anytime you take an athlete like that, or an entertainer who's done some terrible shit, and then talk about giving them an award for it, that's different.
Yeah.
That's like the whole thing with Michael Vick, and then he went and got that award, and he killed a lot of dogs in terrible ways. Does him killing dogs change the fact that he was a great football player? No. Mm-mm. Does it change should it take his numbers out of being talked about? No. Should he receive an award for it? No.
Well, I mean, I know some dog shit happened, but was it his property and his people that he had under him that did the stuff? And he was just like, whatever, but I don't know if he did it particularly. I mean, I could be wrong.
He shot a few dogs.
Oh, very well. Very well. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. But I just know the motherfucker went to jail. I don't know. You should reward a motherfucker for some shit tied to that. But it was something else. It was another instance that I was going to bring up, but I kind of forgot it. Damn, what was it? Oh, yeah, we talking about all this horrible shit that people did, and people want to recognize him for it. What about motherfucking Pete Rose? He didn't do nothing.
Well, and Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame.
Exactly. He didn't do nothing nearly as horrible as these other motherfuckers that people want to reward, and they won't even put him in the fucking Hall of Fame.
He didn't hurt anybody.
No.
He didn't keep anybody from living their life.
No.
And you know what? You look at these guys on the Astros last year, who they found out they cheated their way to the
World Series.
The World Series.
I got a little soft spot about that or whatever because I'm here in Houston.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm not from here, but like I adopted Houston as my team because I'm from Louisiana and they don't have a professional baseball team. So when I moved to Houston, I adopted the Astros. And the first year I moved here was the year that they won the World Series. And I was like, yeah. And I was at work doing security at a building where they ran the victory parade at. And I had to pull motherfuckers off of walls because they was climbing the building and they was drunk and falling in bushes and all kind of crazy shit. So that was a cool experience. But then here we are a couple years later and it was like, they cheated. And I was like, oh, no, baby, no.
But I mean, look, regardless of what they did and the repercussions of that,
getting hit by balls.
Pete Rose did isn't nearly as significant as that.
No,
he just placed some bets
on his own team to win.
Right. Which if anything, you'd be upset if he was placing it on them to lose.
Yeah, exactly. That was the only bet from what I understand. From what I could be wrong, but from what I understand, he only bet on his team to win. He didn't bet against his team. He didn't bet on nobody else's team. He only bet on his team to win.
Yeah, he should 100% be in the Hall of Fame.
He's in the WWE Hall of Fame.
That he's having.
He's in the WWE Hall of Fame.
Is he?
Yes. I believe he is, yeah. So
everybody's isn't Donald Trump in the WWE Hall of Fame?
Yes. And that's weird now.
Yeah.
Whatever.
What's the WWE Hall of Fame in perspective?
Yeah. Bob Barker in there. I'm good with that. And Drew Carey, he in there too.
Jesus.
So you used to peddle 900 numbers, huh?
Yeah. I was an entrepreneur at a very young age. I discovered I came upon a cache of 1-900 numbers. This is probably back in the mid 80s when 1-900 numbers were the hot thing to do because there was no internet and there was no internet porn. And I had no idea what I found, but I started calling the numbers. And it was very, very filthy sex lines. And it wasn't anybody you talked to. You didn't get to talk to them.
Yeah.
You were just listening. It was
like
just basically
or whatever.
auto porn. And then I started bringing my friends over. When my parents weren't around, we would call and we would put it on speakerphone and we would listen. And then I started in school. Kids started coming up to me and saying, "Hey, I hear you have these numbers." So I said, "Yeah, you give me $1, I'll give you a number." And so I started selling. I was making like $5-6 a day. Yeah. And in 1985,
that was a lot.
Yeah, when you're 10, that's a lot of money. Mm-hmm. So I was selling them, and then my parents got the phone bill. I almost called it a cell phone bill. The phone bill, and it was like $400, which in today's money is probably $5,000. I don't know. Yeah. I'm not an economist, but yeah, so I lied, and they got the calls removed, and then they had to have an emergency PTA meeting because every parent was getting these ridiculously high phone bills, and they were trying to figure out the source of these 1-900 numbers. Yeah,
I used to go to the payphone and just dial them up to hear the little ads they would play and whatnot.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we did that too. Yep.
Man, that's a crazy time. I recently seen a payphone out in the wild, and it blew my motherfucking mind.
Yeah, I wouldn't even know how to use a payphone today.
Shit, I wouldn't even know how much to put in that motherfucker. Yeah,
I was just gonna say I have no idea what a phone was.
I'm like, is there a credit card swipe on this motherfucker? Can I do my Apple Pay?
Put my debit card in here?
Yeah, I was like, can I do my Apple Pay with my phone?
Can I Venmo the phone some money so I can make a call?
Hey man, I'm giving you some material right now. Write that down.
Yeah, that's good. I got to write that down.
So, what almost 20-year comedy career?
Yeah, I started doing it in 2003. So I've been at 2002, 18 years. Yeah, Jesus, 18 years. Wow.
Word. So my question that I had, just that whole span of you doing comedy and everything. I mean, life came at you from all kind of different directions or whatever. What has been the greatest moment in your comedy career to ever happen to you by doing comedy? I mean, what moment that you've had in this 18-year span to where you don't think this would ever happen to you in your life if you were not doing comedy?
Probably when I got my album made, when I actually held the CD in my hand, and I was like, wow, because it's something I created completely by myself. It's something, and I don't know a lot of people get to have that experience. Like, regardless of, success and fame and, where my career goes, it's been played on Sirius XM, it's been played on Pandora and on Spotify, and people have called me and said, hey, I was just driving and I heard you. Like, that's crazy to me. And it's a really accomplishment I'm really proud of, is that, my comedy will be out there forever. And it's something that I 100% created on my own. And it was, a long process, and it's something really to be proud of. And I think everybody should try to have that moment in their life where they have something that they created that they're proud of. And, whether or not it makes you famous or everybody else knows about it or just about it, I think that's a really cool thing to be able to do, is say that, here I have something that I made myself, and nobody can take that from you.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I mean, for me growing up, I had, everybody, as a child, when I grow up, I want to be this, and this. For me, I knew, because I came from a big military family or whatever, that I wanted to be involved in the military at some form of fashion. I want to be a stunt man, and I want to be a professional wrestler. So, throughout my whole career in the military, because I joined right out of high school, and I did that for 16 years. Because of that, I was able to be somewhat of a stunt man, and I got to do a little bit of professional wrestling, all because I joined the military. So, I mean, I can cross that off my bucket list or whatever. It was something that I said as a child that I wanted to do in life, and I got to do it. I joined the military.
Good for you, man. And thank you for your service.
Thank you for your support.
I'll tell you what, one of my greatest regrets in life is not having gone in.
Are you happy where you are now?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you made the right choice then.
No, well, yeah. I mean, look, I don't. It's not like I wake up every morning sweating because I didn't go into the military. But I would have liked to have had that experience, and I think it's something that I honestly think everybody should have to do it. Yeah. I think everybody should have to go and serve and earn a little bit of the rights that the country gives you.
Man, you almost had a chance 2 months ago.
Luckily, I am way too old for them to ever wrap me into it.
You'd be surprised. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I kind of, and me and my wife was just talking about this recently or whatever. We was watching something. I forgot what it was. She liked to watch these lovey-dovey shits or whatever. All women do, I guess, right? And the guy was talking about destiny. And he was like, if I would have did this at this moment, I wouldn't be where I am now.
Yeah, that's true.
Or whatever. And I tell her that all the fucking time. Cause like, if I was a day late meeting her when we scheduled to meet each other or whatever, I probably would have missed this opportunity. We wouldn't be sitting here with with a child and having this conversation, being in this house. And, I think about shit like that all the time. She don't think I do, because I'm not a very vocal person with my emotions, other than when the Undertaker duped me, that son of a bitch. So when I tell her little tidbits like that, or whatever, she's like, "Oh, you a person." Yeah. No, you're right. There is something to be said for everything happening at the time that it's supposed to happen. But no, it's a cool thing that you got to have that experience. Yeah. And, I get the itch every now and then, too, because I know a couple of professional wrestlers locally, and I know they got some wrestling rings. I'd be like, man, I want to go jump in here. And then I stand up from my chair here that I'm sitting in, and my back and my knees go pow, 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 pow. And I'm like, nah, never mind.
Yeah, you're too old for that shit. You could go be a manager or something.
I don't think I'm too old, because look at the Undertaker punk ass. But I know my limits.
That's important. And it's a valuable thing to be able to say no when you have to say no.
Now, you talked about one of your greatest accomplishments in your 18 years of professional comedian history. What was one of the worst? Something that you think would have never happened to you if you hadn't done comedy.
I did a show out in Western Pennsylvania, which we call affectionately here Pennsyltucky. It was a show. It was a road gig that I got booked on. It was a private show for a gun club.
Oh.
And I didn't even know I didn't know a gun club was a thing.
I mean, shit, hold on. Let me show you. Let me give you a preview. Bang. Oh, here we go. Camera gonna catch up to you. There you go. That's the gun club.
That's more like a pistol show.
You're right. You're right.
But so it was, so I drove out to this show in the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania. It was down this dirt road. It was basically a log cabin. It was just full of folks in hunting gear.
Oh, man.
And there were deer heads and shit all over the place. And it was me. The host was a black comic friend of mine, and the headliner was a midget. A little person.
Yeah.
And the three of us walked in and we're like a Jew, a black guy, and a midget walked into a gun club. This is a joke. And so my buddy was hosting and he gets up and he only had to do 10 minutes and they just immediately started yelling stuff at him, including the N-word.
Oh, great.
And yeah, and he was young. He was definitely in his 20s at the time.
Yeah,
and
that'll rub you the wrong way.
we were just like shit. And so he gets off stage and he looks and he goes, "I'm leaving." And I said, "Yeah, get the fuck out of here." So he left. But then the guy who was headlining looks at me and goes, "Can you not leave till I'm done?" It's like, "I don't want to be stuck here by myself." And I said, "Yeah, no problem." So I go on stage. And being Jewish, they started yelling stuff at me about being Jewish and the Jews and all this nonsense. And I just worked my way through it. And, probably now at the point in my career that I'm at, I would have just gotten off stage, told the other two comics, "Let's get the fuck out of here."
Yeah.
And we should have left. But I was young enough and I didn't want to burn any bridges. So I just sucked it up and took the abuse. And then I get off stage. And I bring the headliner on. The minute he gets on stage, somebody in the crowd, and it's quiet for a second. I just heard somebody in the crowd yell, "First an N-word, then a Jew, now a goddamn midget." And I'm just like, and he was supposed to do 45 minutes. I think he did maybe 20 minutes. And then he was finally like, "Fuck you people," and got off stage. He and I just left and we left. But then the booker, so we thought we weren't going to get paid because the booker was going to get a bad call. The booker calls and tells us they loved us.
What?
And we got paid.
Word.
Yeah. And I was driving down the road,
baffled,
sweating. Sure. I was terrified. I was sure that there was a pickup truck with a bunch of guys in white hoods following me.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I've drew a couple of parallels from that story. You talk about going out to a place in the woods and a cabin and everything. I went to a strip club in around it was in Georgia. It was around Hinesville, Georgia. There's an army base there, and I forget it was Midway, Georgia. There it is. It came to me, Midway, Georgia, and one of my nephews. It's like, "Hey man, you want to go to the strip club?" I was like, "Fuck it, let's go to the strip club." And we go out driving toward Midway and everything, and there's just no street lights. It's dark. It's trees on either side of the road. And then there's just this one, it's almost like a Dusk Till Dawn situation almost. It's just this one big ass yellow sign with an arrow pointing this way into the tree line. And I'm just like, what are we doing, dog? I know I beat you up a lot as a kid or whatever, but you ain't got to do me like this. So we go off, we take the left past the sign, and it's just trees, just cover the top of the freaking road and everything. You can't even see the sky. It's just the trees go up that high and everything. And we're just traveling down this dark ass path. And then it opens up into a big parking lot. And it's this building that was once a restaurant at some time, because you can see the exhaust port at the top, like most restaurants have. And I was like, man, we coming to eat? I thought we was going to strip club. So we open up the door, go into the front, and it's just this one long hallway. It's almost like The Shining and shit. You know how you just stood at the end of the hallway and it was just this one long hallway? It was like that. And down this hallway to your immediate left, a screen mounted to the wall, playing porn. And they got porn DVDs right up under the monitor. They got bootleg Jordans on the floor. They got jerseys, some jewelry, glasses, and everything all down the wall in this hallway. And then you get about midway down to the right, there's a door and a pathway, and the kitchen. They kept the kitchen going. Motherfucker was selling fish plates, red beans and rice and all kind of shit or whatever. And then you finally get to the end of the hallway. You go through the door and there's like a bar area, both of the bathrooms, and an ATM. And I was like, okay, so where the bitch is at? This is a strip club, ain't it? Right? So I never been to this type of strip club. Strip clubs that I been to before then were all on the military surrounding area or whatever. So like it was the base, then off base, the town adjoined to it. They had strip clubs because they know that they're going to be baiting all kind of military people in there to come in there and spend their money. So the protocol for me in those places were I just go in there, get a drink. I get a $10 bill, spread that out into ones. And, cause I had to pay a $10 cover charge to get in that bitch. So that's $20 plus my drink. And I would just sparingly throw these ones on the stage if I find a girl I like on the stage. Cause I mean, they actually came to the stage. They danced 2 songs. They got the fuck off. Another girl came. That's what I was indoctrinated to. That's what I was used to as a strip club.
Sounds like all the strip clubs I've been to.
Yeah. That's what I was used to. So I go to this one. And like I said, I went through this long hallway, past the dinner plates and everything. And I'm going to the cash lady with my $10 bill. And she looking at me like, what the fuck is this? And then my nephew, who has been there many a times, just pulling out wads of cash, like, oh yeah, man, you got to have at least $20-something in your hand at all times. I was like, well, that would have been nice to know prior to coming here. So I was like, let me borrow that and I'll get you back and everything. So, all right, he give me some cash. We go through another door. And it's just another room with a chair in the corner, like a couch that go all the way around that corner. And then like booths, like old school voting booths with the curtain and everything. They got those in the other corner. I'm like, so where the bitches at? Obviously, this is their VIP. Where's the bitches at? And there's another door in the back of that room, big red door, and this big muscly guy standing in front of it. And I'm just trying to open the door and go see the bitches. And he put his hand on my chest. He's like, whoa. Where your $20 at? Because you have to have $20 in your hand at all times. Like, here, you big bitch. Look, here's money right here. So he opened the door. And all around this room, all along the wall, because it was like a rectangular shaped room, was just like school desk, like chairs almost. Just like what you would sit in high school. It just didn't have the desk front on the front of it. It's just those chairs all around the room. And there was like a runway and no strip pole. And every stripper that worked in that bitch was in there butt naked. And they were just playing music. And I was like, So I go sit down in a chair and like 3 of them swarm me. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? And they're just all dancing on you and doing shit. And I'm just like, I'm throwing money at this point to get them to get the fuck off me. I was like, here, go over there, chase the money. And yeah, I seen the lady roll up a $1 bill and insert it inside herself and work it out with her vagina muscles. It was a wild night. Seen a Spanish guy over there in the corner eating a strip of ass. It was just weird.
So don't go to strip clubs in Georgia. Don't
go to strip club in Midway, Georgia.
Right.
Unless you like that, then go to the strip club in Midway, Georgia.
Duly noted. Safety tip.
Yes, very, very, very. You just make sure if you go now, bring a mask and sanitizer.
Yeah, well, don't be going to any strip clubs right now.
Yeah, exactly right. So you have had an 18-year spanning career in comedy. And the career prior to this was that's kind of a thing that tied you and the other Kevin together. Y'all both had a corporate job, your suit and type of gig. And yeah, I was just like, fuck this couch. I'm doing my own thing. I mean, what led you to that point? I mean, other than the normal stresses.
I was a lawyer.
Yeah.
I actually was a comic before I was a lawyer. I was doing comedy while I was working the job after college. And then I decided to go to law school because I had always planned on being a lawyer. But I took a few years between college and law school. I took about 7 years. And then I went back to law. So I went to law school, but I was still doing comedy while I was in law school. And then I graduated law school. I got a job working at a law firm in New York City and was making good money. I was lucky to have a job. A lot of my friends who graduated law school at the time didn't have jobs because the market wasn't that great. And then after about a year and a half, I realized that this wasn't what I wanted to do. I wasn't able to do comedy anymore because I was working so much at the law firm, and I just couldn't do it. So I quit law and I went back to comedy.
Nah. Have you ever found yourself so delirious between doing comedy and the lawyer thing, if you ever had any lap over to where you was in one of your court hearings doing one of your sets?
No, you know what? I always worked very hard whenever I was wherever I was working professionally outside of comedy to keep my comedy career and my professional career separate. And
I can imagine it being hard.
You know, people would always find out that I was, I did comedy. I had coworkers just randomly show up at shows because they were like, we heard you did this and we decided it would always get out, but I always tried to keep them as far apart as possible to avoid any issues on either end.
And that's the same as well, because like I do the security gig and whatnot, and I keep the podcast and shit separate from them because that's the last thing I want to do when I go to work. I want to go to work, do my job, go the fuck home, and right. I don't want them to be bringing the shit up or whatever, because I mean, they cool people, but I kind of feel like, that overly supportive type thing or whatever, to where like, hey man, how's the podcast going? What's this and what's this? And they're asking you questions and shit. I was just like, dude, let me come here and do my job and get the fuck on.
Yep, exactly.
But see, that's the interesting thing too. I mean, have you ever thought about putting your lawyer gig into your comedy bit? See. So, Your Honor, let me address the members of the audience.
Well, for a very short while, I had a group. We were called Comedians at Law, and it was 7 of us. It was a bunch of lawyers or comics who were lawyers, and we put this little group together and we traveled the country performing, and we were doing clubs, but we also, the bulk of our work was we would go to law schools and law firms who were having like retreats or whatever and perform for them.
I like that.
And we did that for about 2 years, almost 3 years. And it went pretty well. We were doing pretty well, getting a lot of bookings, making some money. But the people started to lose interest in the group because it was a ton of work. Yeah. And it ended up just kind of falling apart.
Yeah. I mean, I like the sound of that. That sounded pretty good. But I mean, I understand if it's taxing or whatever. I mean, it kind of drained the joy out of doing this shit,
Yeah, whenever you put a bunch of comics together and try to get them to work together, there's always going to be an issue, because especially comics who are also lawyers. It's clearly that each person thinks they know everything. Each person thinks they know better than the other. There's egos, and it's a tough thing. So it was a challenge, but they're all very talented dudes, and they're all doing well in their own right now.
Yeah, I can just imagine, just out of the blue or whatever, you sitting there doing your set or whatever, and one of them out of that group be like, objection, and overruled. Sit your punk ass down. Speaking of comedians and comedy and all this stuff or whatever, you got bumped back off of your set by Dave Chappelle, which is one of my favorite comedians of all time.
Yes. Yeah. I was doing a set at Gotham Comedy Club, which is a very famous comedy club in New York. And this was, I think, my first or second year. And I was getting ready to go on, and when you're early on in your comedy career and you're nervous the whole time before you go on, you're nervous and excited, and you just want to get up there and try out some new stuff and hope it works. And the woman who's Jessica Kirsten, who's a very popular comic now. She's amazing monster comic. And she was running the show, and she came up to me and she goes, "Hey, I know you're going up in 2 people, but you're getting bumped back 1 because Dave Chappelle is here." And I was like, "Motherfucker!" And this was back. This was like in 2003.
Yes.
So this was like at the height of Dave Chappelle's initial run with the Chappelle Show, and I mean, he was bigger than Jesus at the time. And she said, "Don't worry, he's only coming. He's doing 10 minutes, just trying out some new stuff." And he came and he did. I'd say he did at least 35 minutes and destroyed for 35 minutes. And then got off, walked off the stage, walked past me, looked at me, because I was clearly waiting to go on, and said, "Good luck," and then just kept walking. And I ate my dick for 10 minutes or 8 minutes, however long I had there, because who wanted to listen to me, this random kid who's been doing comedy for a year and a half, after they just saw the biggest comic on the planet?
Exactly. Oh man, I can hardly imagine.
Yeah, but it's a cool story, and Dave Chappelle is a monster comic, and it was awesome to get to perform on the same stage as him.
Yeah, I mean that's a once in a lifetime comedian there, man. He's just like somebody that went virtually unknown. I mean, he did shit prior to the Chappelle Show, because I mean, I can remember some of his stand up. He had a couple of appearances on Def Comedy Jam when that was a thing. The movie Half Baked, the movie Screwed.
Great movie.
Yeah, exactly. One of my favorites. And you know, a couple of cameos in some movies that you wouldn't have forgot that he was in, like Con Air and shit.
Yeah, he was great in Con Air.
Blue Streak or whatever. And you know, he made the rounds, but like until the Chappelle Show dropped, it just like his shit just skyrocketed from there.
Well, that's where he really got to
be himself.
Be himself, right? And you know, throw his talent out there and be as creative as he wanted to be, and that's when you really got to see his genius.
Yeah, I cannot find it anywhere. And probably because I'm not looking hard enough. It was one of his older stand-up specials or whatever. This was the very first thing that I ever seen Dave Chappelle in, because I used to flip through HBO on Showtime when I was younger, just, you know, at random, because you stay up, because you all hopped up on Mountain Dew and shit as a kid. And I would catch different comedy specials that would pop up, and his was one, and he had this whole bit about him taking mushrooms for the first time. And you know how you was talking about storytelling and everything. He just took you through a whole journey about, you know, he took the mushrooms at 6:35, and then he just, you know, went on about his day like he was smoke weed. You know, you smoke a blunt, you go do his normal routine. He would go get a haircut, you know, do this thing, go see a movie, a whole bunch of shit. So he said he took the mushrooms, and he was just recounting all his experience that he had from 6:35, and he just like, he did a lot of shit. He went to the barbershop. He's talking about that experience there, because I don't want to give away the whole bit. I'm doing it injustice, you know, paraphrasing it this way. And he just said a whole bunch of shit. He's like, he took a shower, he took a nap, and he woke up, and it was 6:36. You know, so, and that was my first exposure to Dave Chappelle, and then ever since then I just been, that guy's got something.
Oh, he's brilliant.
Yes. So if I need to find that again, because every time when I think Dave Chappelle, I don't think about Half Baked, Chappelle Show, and all that. I think about that one special the first time I seen that motherfucker.
I gotta go find that bit too. If you find it, send it to me.
Yes, I will. Because damn it, shit, I done brought it up too much. Now I gotta find it. Oh man, but shit, man, you got so much life experience between your last special and to what the next special will be. I say will be because it's coming out, motherfucker. And
yes, sir.
What are you most looking forward to making this next project?
You know, just putting the whole story together again, getting to see how that all comes together. Because as you write material, you don't necessarily have a plan for where it's going to fit. And then slowly, as it starts to fit together, you start to go, oh yeah, this fits in with this, and you know, you kind of start to see it. And so, just the process of writing and getting new material and getting it to work, and that's the best part of the business. Mm-hmm. So, hopefully I'll be able to have something together in the next couple of years.
Don't say years. But I know you got to perfect it, because I know it's not just damn.
It's time, man. It takes time.
I know you just can't write the shit down on paper like, all right, I'm ready. Let's go.
I wish.
A lot of field testing and whatnot. I understand.
Yep.
But my last two questions. What do you feel is your most improved skill out of all the time you've been doing comedy? Because I know it's not just one aspect of the craft, but what do you feel is your most improved skill out of the whole thing?
Definitely stage work, crowd work. That is, when you're at these different shows. A lot of times the crowd loves to be interacted with.
Yes.
And it's intimidating when you start off, because you're already worried about your own material, let alone what the crowd is going to throw at you. And over the years, I've developed very, very strong crowd work. And it's my favorite part, because doing your act over and over again, it stops being as fun. Mm-hmm. But being able to interact with the crowd and create comedy on the spot, that's always a blast. So I think that's, I went from being terrified to doing it to loving it.
Word. Cool. So my last question, do you have a small sample of what's to come in your next special? Do you I know you still working it out. You got some stuff you putting down, but do you have a little sample that you can give us to tide us over until then?
Oh, you're going to put me on the spot like this?
Of course I am.
Do I have a small sample? So,
or at least something for us to look forward to, just like, a concept.
I started talking about, since we just, bought a house, and I'd never been through the house buying process before, I was really surprised by the process and, how it starts to really warp how you look at, because when you're buying a house, you spend so much time going into other people's homes.
Yeah.
And you start to judge their homes and their lives. You start walking, open people's closets, and you're looking at their shit, and you forget that you're looking at a house, and you just start judging the way these people live. Like, yeah. I can't believe, I can't believe they eat this. You look in their cabinets and you go, oh my God, these people eat all this shit. and after a while you start seeing all these houses, and then suddenly you go, oh, I'm trying to find somewhere to live. I'm not just, this isn't the American Idol of how people live.
Yeah.
And we were on one, house hunting excursion, and our realtor took us to see 8 houses, which, if you've ever gone house hunting, 8 is way too many.
Exactly. For one day at least, either.
Yeah. And by the 6th house, I couldn't even remember the houses we saw. And you start to think you're suddenly an expert on houses, and that how things should be decorated and how things should appear. And you start to judge after a while. You start to go into rooms and just start judging, like, you shouldn't put that there. You say, why would they do this? And afterwards, we went to get something to eat after seeing all these houses, and I walked into the bathroom, and I was like, ugh, look at this place. This is disgusting, with a urinal, and who puts a urinal anywhere? What is this, a bar? And yeah, we were at a bar.
Yeah, no shit.
So that is what it should look like. So, yeah, that's a little bit of what I'm working on right now.
Word. Very relatable, because me and my wife went shopping, and we got this house that we're currently sitting in right now. So, I mean, just based on what you told me or whatnot, you've seen multiple houses before you settled on the one you got, correct?
Oh, yeah. A lot.
So, my speech to my wife, because this is my second time, going through the home buying process. This is her first time. First thing I told her, I was like, we got a couple of houses on the list. Don't fall in love with the first one you see.
Yep.
This is the first house that we saw that I'm sitting in right now. So that's how that went. I was just like, we came here. She walked around and had everything that she said she wanted to put in a house. She's like, I want a pool. I want to make a theater room. As I currently sit in the theater room, and the pool is in the backyard. So that was the first house we saw. And I was like, all right, cool. I'll put this one at the top of the list. We still got 2 other houses to look at today. So we made it to the other house. We wasn't even there 5 minutes. She's like, I like the other house. I was like, fuck. Okay.
The best laid plans, man.
Yes. Jesus scuffs at your plans. He said, that's too Jesus-y.
Don't be too Jesus with me.
Yes, exactly. Well, my man, I appreciate you finally making your way over yonder and chatting with me a little bit and whatnot. And I appreciate your time as.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on and being patient with my terrible schedule. And checking out my album, and hopefully your listeners will check out The Struggle Is Real on iTunes and everywhere else.
Yes. So before you leave, let everybody know where they can find you on social media and all your other projects.
Yeah, you can find my website is kevinisrael.com. You can find me on Twitter at KevinIsrael_NJ, on Instagram at KevinIsraelComedy, on Facebook at just Kevin Israel. The Struggle Is Real on iTunes, and my calendar's up on my website, so you can find out where I'm going to be there right now. Because of this nonsense that's going on, pretty much every comedy show has been canceled. But hopefully we're going to bounce back from this and get out there. If you're listening to this while we're still quarantined, go online, buy a comedy album, pay for somebody's comedy special, because a lot of us comics aren't making money right now, and we could use the help.
Pretty please, with sugar on top.
Absolutely.
Yes. So as it is with every guest of the Random Rounds with Rob, the door is open for you to always come back and to, plug your next big thing, premiere that new special that will be coming out.
Yes, sir. I'll be back.
Or just to shoot the shit.
Hell yeah, man. This was fun. I appreciate it.
And that was finally Kevin Israel. I was going to say Kevin number 2, but I don't know which one is older, him or Kevin Goatee, his partner on the podcast Gutting the Sacred Cow, which I never asked when he was on the show, him or Kevin, their graphic for their podcast. If you search on Podbean, iTunes, or wherever you listen to podcasts, wherever they got the show published, their cover art is cropped off to the left. So gutting it looks like utting. You don't see the G up there and half of the U, and it's horribly cropped off center, and it bothers me a little bit. I wasn't thinking about it in the moment when we was jaw jacking, but yeah. Fix your shit. It was great to unpack a little bit. I mean, you got the herd. Ooh, shit, it's the corona. You got to hear some of my same old musings and whatnot. For those of you who've been listening to the show for a while, Undertaker get on my goddamn nerves, and a couple other that was the bottom line. Undertaker get on my goddamn nerves. Fuck that dude in 2020. But yeah, it was great to finally have him on the show. Great to talk with him. I look forward to his new comedy special when it comes out. And yeah, we gotta wait and see. But yeah, man, we still iffy around here, with everything that's going on in the world and whatnot. And I don't even know what to say about this shit. Just wash your goddamn hands. I wish I could stay home from work. I'm kind of considered essential personnel, and if I do get to stay home, I hope I can get paid. That would be a doubly bonus and perk and whatnot. I don't want to get sick and get other people sick in service of my job. But yeah, if it's my time, it's my time. I hate to look at it that way, but that's what it is, though. On a lighter note, we approach the end of March, which is my birthday, March 29th. And we are still taking in questions for Ask Miss B-Rob. That's the once yearly show to where my wife comes on and she answers questions from you all. I already got a couple here saved on Twitter and my DMs and whatnot, but we need more. I think last year we got 22 questions. I don't even think we got near as much this time, but I hadn't really been pushing it and bugging people like I did the previous 3 years. I got a lot of shit going on, man. It's a pandemic. I'm out there in the wild trying to find toilet paper and hand sanitizer and goddamn whatever, you know? So it be what it be. It is what it is. And, yeah. Oh, another thing that I want to bring up, man, that I'm really proud and excited about, whatever. Black Rambo ammo is taking off. And it's, I guess, because, you know, people scared, you know, they, fear mongering and hoarding and all this other bullshit. So a lot of the guns and ammo have been getting bought up, and just so happened, you know, my man started his ammo business, Black Rambo Ammo, and this shit go down, and then like the demand for the shit is through the roof. So he done sold half of his shipment, and he got a new shipment in, and he trying to work that down. And I think one of his things with that selling all the ammo or whatever, he said if he can sell his whole entire shipment, he is already on the second half, that he would fly 2 people to New Orleans and, you know, pay for everything, and you come hang and chill with Black Rambo. But, you know, with everything going on, I mean, I don't know when the winners can cash in on the flights and all this other bullshit. So hopefully all these things clear out and work itself in the favor of everybody. So yeah. So on top of his ammo selling out and you doing well and everything, Black Rambo Ammo was purchased by Rambo himself. Goddamn, Sylvester Stallone bought him some ammo, some Black Rambo ammo out there in I think is Burbank Guns and Ammo out there in California or whatnot. So Rambo endorses Black Rambo. Oh man, I couldn't believe my eyes and shit. I thought it was like a cosplayer or some shit. And then I went to Sylvester Stallone's freaking Instagram, and yeah, that's that motherfucker. You know, I'm happy. I'm proud. I just, you know, it's fucking amazing. You know, dude took his dream, made it a reality. You heard me speak about it a couple episodes back, and it's great, man. It's fucking awesome. Give him a round of applause on that. And boo the Undertaker. Boo this man. Yeah, sorry, motherfucker. But I hope you enjoyed the episode. We got a crowdless WrestleMania coming up. It's going to be 2 nights now. And I'm just interested to see how that's going to look. Because I had a ticket to go to Tampa to check it out. But, you know, things happen. So I got the refund on the freaking actual WrestleMania tickets. Or I'm pending the refund. And then now I am just waiting to get the freaking plane tickets and all that sorted out. So yeah, I was about to freaking pull the trigger on a hotel and a goddamn rental car and all that shit. I'm glad I didn't, you know. That'd have been more refund pending and bullshit I would have had to deal with. But anyway, once again, glad he joined me on this edition of the Random Rounds with Rob. Unfortunately, I'm working this weekend, so I'm trying to hurry up and chop this up and put it out, because I got to get up early in the AM on a Sunday and go do work again. And, you know, I'm usually off on the weekend. I'm out there flying my drone and all kind of crazy shit now, but, you know, got to pay these bills, homie. So hit the sponsors real quick after I plug myself. Not to say since I got Blue Chew, that's what I've been doing. Ugh. But you can follow me on Twitter at 3R Show. You can follow on Instagram at the 3R Show. You can follow on Facebook or like on Facebook. Look for 3R Show or search the Random Rounds with Rob. YouTube 3R Show. And for anything that I miss, go to randomrob.com to where you can find many different ways to help support the show. Merchandise, which I might be doing a sale here pretty soon for the end of the month, you know, my birthday time frame and whatnot. Amazon links, freaking Patreon, $1 a month will do, or you can just give cash sparingly through PayPal and Cash App and all that shit. And you can check out the sponsors, Hooks, Rubs, and Spices. You go to hooksrubsandspices.etsy.com and you can find some deliciousness to rub on your quarantine meats. Not saying that the meat is contaminated, but the meats that you eat while you lock down in your crib and whatnot. They made a joke earlier that all the meat and everything was missing from the stores. People are hoarding it up and buying it all up, but nobody buying no goddamn seasoning, and that's tragic. You just eating just rubbery ass meat and shit. No seasoning, no spice on that bitch. But Hooks, Rubs, and Spices can get you done. Go to hooksrubsandspices.etsy.com. Use promo code RANDOM. Get 15% off your order. Go to poddex.com. It's a tool to lighten the load of your thought process in your podcasting work and shit. I don't know what the fuck I was doing, but go to poddex.com. You can get 10% off your order. This is some amazing tools to put in your toolbox to help you reach new heights and keep the podcast interesting and whatnot. I don't have my cards in front of me. I actually do. I just don't feel like dicking them bitches out right now. But go to poddex.com, get you 10%. And especially right now, man, you probably bored as shit. You might want to just whip out a deck of these cards and just start answering some of the questions, in the house by yourself with your family or whatever the case may be, just to have something to do. And you can go, where? You can go to motherfucking BlueChew.com. Get your first order free by using the promo code RANDOM. Just like on Hooks, Rubs, and Spices, you can use promo code RANDOM. Just like on Poddex, you can use promo code RANDOM. All for savings. And here on BlueChew.com, you can get you that ooh for your goo. We all quarantine, we all locked down. It doesn't matter if you locked down with your significant other, side chick, or whatever the case may be. And you ain't got shit to do but fuck, baby. Quarantine and chill. That's what it is. And then if you got the coronavirus and you waiting your 14 days, it doesn't matter, because whoever locked down with you, they fucking probably got it too. And I don't think people fucking with the coronavirus is gonna make it any worse. You're just gonna be rubbing contamination all over your face, neck, and chest. But Blue Chew will get you through these trying times, baby. And like I said, use that promo code RANDOM and get your first order free. Only pay $5 shipping. Yeah, so Blue Chew, Poddex, Hooks, Rubs, and Spices. Hit them all up. Use promo code RANDOM for all the goddamn savings. And before I go, one more thing. I've been trying to get the hell out of here for the longest, but the best way that you can help support this podcast and any other podcast that you listen to, I haven't been saying this in a while because I got so much on my mind and shit going on, but write reviews. Currently, I still have 5 motherfucking reviews to go, so I can hit my goal of 100 before my birthday, which is March 29th. As of this recording, we are sitting at March 21st. So we're danger close, as we would say in the military. So if you could if you could send that here we go. That was the wrong answer. But if you can show some support and throw a couple of reviews my way, those last 5, we can hit the goal of 100 Apple Podcast reviews by March 29th. That's your free gift to me for my birthday, and it's a great way to support this podcast and any other podcast you listen to. So with that being said, I'm done, and I'll see you next time.